Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. His must-win column says, the believers and the doubters need to chill out. Can't we all just get along? I don't think so, man. I don't think that will ever happen. It's a good column. You should check it out today at the Press of Atlantic City. And Mike McGarry joins me here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. You know that can't happen, Mike. He either stinks or he's great. There's no in-between.
Well, wishful thinking, basically. Well, what I was trying to say, the point I was trying to make is this is a question that's going to be answered over the course of the playoffs. To go shot by shot, possession by possession, quarter by quarter, game by game is ridiculous. Let's let it play out. Let's let the playoffs play out, and let's come back and see where we stand at the end of the playoffs. And the other thing I was trying to make is, both. I think what makes it so volatile is both sides don't agree that the other side has a valid point. The pro Ben Simmons crowd will say, 0 for 6 from the foul line, no big deal. He did these other things. And the anti-Ben Simmons crowd will say, but he doesn't shoot, or he's 0 for 6 from the foul line and 15 rebounds, 15 assists. Who cares? Both sides kind of have to realize that each side has valid points, basically.
Right, and it's like, Paul Hudrick wrote a piece for our website, and he said he wasn't better, he was just different. That's the thing that I thought was most compelling is he can be good in both games and different in both games, but some people just like when he scores, right? You got that crowd that if you don't score, you didn't have a good game. And you have the other side, the first game, he actually generated more points than he did in the second game. He generated 48 points in game 1 off assist and his 6 points. In game 2, he only generated 40 points. So by that number, he actually had a better game in game 1, but because he scored more in game 2, people think he had a better game. And Paul said it wasn't better, it was just different.
Well, with all due respect to Paul, but I would say to that, my eyes tell me that Ben Simmons was 100% better in game 2 than he was in game 1.
But why do we think that? Is it because he's more aggressive and he scores more points?
Yes. I think, put me down in the camp that I think you have to score in the NBA to be a truly great player. And when Simmons, forget about, I don't care about the 3-point shooting or even the elbow jumper shooting. What I want to see is a guy who is aggressive and getting to the basket and looking for his shot and his opportunity. And I think when he plays like that, he's a much better player. So, yes, put me down in the column of the guy. You got to score to be great.
Well, for him to be great. Well, what about the team to be great? Because
I think they're a better team when he plays the way he played Tuesday. In game 2.
Right. In game 1, you have Curry and Green score 26 points with 6 3-pointers. You have Harris score 37. I don't understand the people who have this mindset of why does it matter where the points come from?
Well, that's the Doc Rivers argument, right? That's what Doc said during a press conference. He said, how many points did we get in game 1? We got 125. If Ben got all 125, would we be mad at Joel because he didn't score?
Right.
Probably, yes. I mean, I just think for his role on the team, how much he has the basketball in a sense. And again, when I point to game 1, what I see more than anything is I see the 0 for 6 from the foul line and the 2 missed foul shots with 45 seconds left that if Westbrook doesn't have a brain cramp on the sidelines and step out of bounds, that could have been a real issue. So I think when Ben Simmons is aggressive, when he's scoring, the Sixers are at their best, and that's what he has to do for them to win. And I think when he doesn't do it, it's a glaring weakness in his game.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Here's my thing. I agree with that if the other guys aren't scoring. In other words, if Curry's not shooting well and Green's not shooting well, then Ben has to say, they're not shooting well tonight. I've got to do more. But if those guys are making their jumpers, why not let them shoot away? To me, that's fine. And if Harris is going to be on that, when he's scoring 37, I'll give him the ball gladly.
Well, you can make that
Mike,
point.
In the past, I was on the side of he needs to score more because they didn't have the roster configuration to pick up the slack. They now do.
Well, I think they're better when he's more aggressive. I don't want to put my eggs in the Steph Curry, Danny Green basket. The Tobias Harris, who should dominate this series and is scoring 30-something again. Again, when I come back to game one, I'm not so upset about the lack of shots. Do I think he could have shot the ball more? Yeah, he took 9 shots. I'll take 11, 12, 13 shots, 3 or 4 more opportunities.
Yeah.
I come back to the 0 for 6 foul shots, which in a close game, it's a very real question whether he can have the ball in his hands in a close game. And Ben Simmons without the ball in the hands kind of eliminates one of his main strengths.
So that's fair. And like, I think that is certainly going to be found out late in these games. Like, how are teams going to handle that? Are they going to foul him? Are they going to put him at the line? Are you going to have to get him off the floor? All of that. Now, him taking the ball aggressively to the basket like he did in he didn't get to the line at all in game number 2. I almost asked the question yesterday, Mike, which is he went 0 for 6 in game 1, but he didn't go at all in game 2. I would almost rather that he got there 6 times and missed than not get there at all. That almost boggles my mind. How does he not get to the line, period?
Yeah, I mean, he is a confounding player, especially when he was more aggressive, basically, in game 2. Look, I just think he needs to shoot the ball more and be a more offensive force, and I think it's something that is going to be answered over the long haul of the playoffs.
Is that just a personal preference on where he stacks in the pantheon of good, great, elite, yada, yada? Or is that this team can't win or go where they want to go if he scores 6 points and gives out 15 assists?
I think it's both. I think if he has to be able to create shots for himself and his teammates in the close game, in the fourth quarter of a close game in a playoff game. He has to be able to have the ball in his hands with 3 minutes to go, to me, to truly be considered a great player and for the Sixers to win, basically. I gave you the stat last week. I used it again in the column. Last time we saw him in the playoffs, 2019, Toronto Raptors, 7-game series. He played 51 fourth quarter minutes. He took 6 shots. I think we can all agree that he's got to be more aggressive than go 4 for 6 in a 7-game series in the fourth quarter. Now, they lost that series on a last-second shot by Kawhi Leonard. So does he have to go from 6 to 50 shots? No. But if he goes from 6 to 15 and scores a couple more points, maybe they get one of those games.
You know what's odd? He scored 6 points in game 1. He scored 22 points in game 2. They scored more points as a team in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, hard to tell. I mean, again, that's what we say. You're not solving anything in this early series. I think what was apparent the other night was this is a number 1 seed versus a number 8 seed. Washington is overwhelmed. As long as they're playing Raul Neto, they've got no chance. So we're not going to make any judgments off this series.
What, did Neto give you a bad quote when he was with the Sixers or something?
I don't know. I'm watching that game the other night. I turned to Tom Moore, who I know you've had on the show several times. I just said, why is Raul Neto out there? How does this team think they can beat the Philadelphia 76ers? They're starting Raul Neto. They're having 6'2".
Well, their only other option is to put the process poster child Ish Smith out there.
Right. No, they've got no. I've never seen a basketball roster before where they have nobody. Like, I've seen basketball teams without 7-footers. I've never seen a basketball team that has no guys like 6'4" to 6'7".
I said
no guys like that.
Exactly. I said earlier, like, because I think I had Mark Jackson on yesterday. He might have said it when I asked him about, because the whole thing with Simmons, that kind of was in game 1, they basically tried to put a sagging wall up there like some teams do, and Simmons can't get to the basket, so he just said, all right, shoot a 3. Right. The Sixers were ill-equipped to shoot 3, so teams just let them shoot them. Right. Well, now you let Curry and Green shoot 3s, they're going to hit 45% of them. They can't do that. So in game 2, they sprint out on the guys, and Simmons said, you're going to go out and defend them. I'll just back this guy right to the basket, and he took his lunch money. The problem will be Washington doesn't have a player that can defend Simmons at all. Right. I said I would put Gafford on him. I'd try that out.
Yeah. I mean, that's the question. As you go deeper in the playoffs, a team is not going to try to cover Ben Simmons with a 6'2" or 6'3" guard. They're going to have a 6'7", 6'8" wing guy that can try that. And then when you try to put that guy on him and you close out on the shooters, and it's not easy. Here's the other thing. Like, I guess you could say I'm in the Ben Simmons doubter category, but let me say this. He's an excellent player. He has great skills. He's shown the Sixers can be a dominant regular season team with him. My question is, with him, can they get to that next level, which is the Eastern Conference Finals or the championship? And I think to do that, he has to be able to create shots for himself and teammates in the fourth quarter of playoff games. And so far in his career, he hasn't done it.
No, you are right about that. And I would say I think one of the biggest things of this whole thing is, who is Tobias Harris? If he's the guy that he's been all year and the guy that he was in game one, you probably can get away with Simmons not being as aggressive, because if you're getting 30 from Embiid and 30 from Harris and those guys are hitting threes, how much does Simmons really need to add?
I mean, that's a great point. And the other point I made in the column was, look, Doc Rivers knows this is coming, right? He knows at some point they're going to be in a close game in the playoffs. So if Simmons isn't going to be the guy creating shots and for himself and teammates, if you're going to stick Simmons in like the dunker spot down close to the basket and put the ball in somebody else's hands, is Doc Rivers going to scheme up a way for them to successfully score in the fourth quarter of playoff games so that they advance to the series? I'll take that too. Then you want to tell me, okay, this team doesn't need Ben Simmons to do it. But so far, Ben Simmons hasn't done it.
Yep.
And Brett Brown couldn't scheme a way for them to score in closing minutes of playoff games. So they, as a team and as Simmons, they haven't done it.
You're right. And if you've watched the way they've used him in the dunker spot this year, it's a little different because of Embiid's dominance. Teams are doubling him right away. Simmons guys double it Embiid. And then what happens is Simmons is standing there all by himself. Right. And what happens is the guy that's on Curry or Green in the corner, he's got to come down on Simmons. And then what happens? That guy's in the corner wide open. So they have figured out a way. And I think part of this is Embiid's greatness. He is now matured to the point where you've got to double and triple team him. So a lot of this is the maturity of Embiid. The better use of Harris has, I think, negated the necessity for Simmons to score as much as they needed him to in the previous incarnations of these rosters.
And my take on that would be yes, but the ultimate test of that will be in the postseason when it matters against a really, really good team.
All right, well, let me ask you then, Mike. I've been asking my listeners, and right now, they are split exactly down the middle. I couldn't believe it. I mean, hundreds of texts come in right down the middle. Who's a better matchup, Bucks or Nets? If you're a Sixers, who is the better matchup?
Boy, that's a tough one.
Can you believe that amount of text came in and it is exactly split down the middle?
Right. I think both tough, but I would rather play Milwaukee. I'd rather play Milwaukee than Brooklyn. I want to stick clear. I think the big three is tough to stop in the closing minutes. You know, I'm on record as saying I think Brooklyn's going to win the Eastern Conference. I think Milwaukee with Giannis faces some of the same issues that the Sixers face with Simmons. There's questions about how much Giannis, because of his foul shooting, how much can he have the ball in his hands in the closing minutes? So I would rather play Milwaukee if I was the Sixers than the Brooklyn Nets. I just think those three guys are too tough.
I don't know that I have a definitive answer on that yet, but somebody brought it up to me. I think it was Mark Jackson yesterday that said, the one thing is Giannis can be the guy that defends Simmons and gives him that, same size and foot speed, and that could neutralize because you know what Simmons tries to do is change the pace of the game. He wants to control the tempo of the game. All right, that's all the time we have for today. We're getting a lot of great feedback. I am anyway. I don't know about you, but people are like, you and McGarry are great. All right, we're off on Monday, Mike, so I won't see you then.
Okay.
But enjoy your weekend, man.
You too. Happy Memorial Day. See you later.
The same. Mike's column, check it out. It's Must Win at AC Press McGarry. He's got more on the Ben Simmons conversation. Good sparring with Mike. We do it Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays here